What's up, everybody? This is your boy Mikel from the Next Take Podcast. I'm doing an episode without Tanika, so it's going to be a short one. I'd like to talk about the WNBA expansion. As you guys heard, the WNBA has confirmed 2 cities that will be getting a WNBA team, which is Portland and California Bay. Sigh. Sigh. I really want a team in Toronto. I really want a team in Toronto. But I understand why. I really understand why. But let's go back to the factors, what happened last summer. May 2023, there was a WNBA game. The first WNBA game played in Canada was the Minnesota Lynx versus the Chicago Sky. Pretty good game. Liked it. Sold out crowd. People were crazy. That's why I was hoping that we got this. We got this. And even the commissioner believed that, Toronto was one of the teams to get an expansion. So, from the confirmation from the WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelberg, if I misspell your last name, my bad, said Toronto is on a short list of 10 cities the league is looking at for expansion, and that the time to add teams is getting closer. So obviously the WNBA is growing. 10 years back, you couldn't say that. They were extremely struggling. Would I say they're struggling now? Yeah, they're struggling now, but they're growing. Back then, they didn't really have any growth. Nobody was watching. Now they have more eyeballs. You can say that social media had a thing for it. More NBA players are coming to the game. More networks are actually covering the game, which is really good for the league. But I think we need to still do more for the WNBA. You got to remember the WNBA only has, I believe, 8 teams, if I'm wrong. 8 teams in the WNBA compared to the NBA that has approximately over 30 teams. And they're making profit. So the WNBA still needs a lot of growing to do. I think that's one of the reasons why Maple Leafs Sports and Entertainment didn't do a bid, because they look at the metrics, they look at everything. Do we need a team right now? And they most likely said to themselves, no, we don't need a team right now. Do we need to grow women's sports in general? Yes. They said in the article on one of the reasons why they didn't even put a bid in the for a WNBA team to be in Toronto. Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment is a passionate supporter of women's sports, and our organization will play an important role in growing the games at all levels as we explore areas where we could lend expertise and resources, says a spokesman or a spokesperson that's from Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. I do agree. I think a lot of communities need to invest into women's sports. Women's sports is still way behind the men. But has it grown? Yes. Yes, it has grown a whole lot. I remember back then, hardly any networks were covering any women's sport. Yeah, you get your tennis matches with Serena versus her sister Venus, and then other women's tennis matches as well. And then you get your Olympics every 4 years, and then curling. Curling, guys. One of the most boring sports of all time. But anyways, yeah, I do think Canada in general needs to invest into more women communities and more women sports, more women events, everything that's women. So this is the game between Minnesota Lynx versus the Chicago Sky was the right step in the right direction for the WNBA. And you also got to remember, it took a while for the Toronto Raptors to come to Toronto. The NBA, according to the ESPN.com, right? The interest of the move of expanding an NBA franchise to Toronto grew during the late 1980s. So it took time. With the former NBA commissioner David Stern later described the expansion to Toronto as a safe step. Given the market size and likelihood of success in the city, the NBA organized 2 exhibition games, 1989 and 1992, with an attendance of over 25,000 people each, both in newly built Skydome. So it wasn't just one game, it was 2 games with a span of 3 years. So 1989 and 1992. So we just had our first game in the WNBA. It took the Raptors until 1995 to come to the NBA and play their first game in Skydome. Yeah, I think it will take time for us to get a WNBA team in Toronto. I don't know when, and also I think a lot of people think there's an issue between the Toronto Raptors management and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment management. Ed Rogers and Masai Ujiri, they had some bad blood in the past. I remember Masai Ujiri's contract extension, and then Ed Rogers. I heard there was rumors that Ed Rogers didn't want to bother giving Masai Ujiri an extension, and that didn't sit well with Masai Ujiri at all. So that must have some type of input, but I think it's just the growth of women's sports in general, and it's not here yet. It's here, but it needs to be at the same level as the men's, but it's not there yet, and it needs to be. It needs to be here. So I really hope for a WNBA team to be in Toronto in the future, because I really want a WNBA team to be in Toronto. So Yeah, and I want them to be called the Toronto, the Toronto, and remember, the first ever game that was played in the NBA in the late 1940s was the New York Knickerbockers versus the Toronto Huskies. So that would be cool to have that name being brought to a WNBA team in Toronto. Like, yeah, but yeah, like I said, I hope there will be a WNBA team in Toronto in the near future, and I'll be supporting that WNBA team in the near future. So that's it for this episode of the Next Take Podcast. The Next Take Podcast is available on streaming services. If you want to contact me and Tanika, we have an email, mikeltanika@gmail.com. I'm Mikel, and I'm out.